So Borderlands 4 is out at last. With it comes a seemingly massive variety of builds to partake in, countless combinations of gear and abilities to take, and it's enough to be overwhelming. So what if we decided to step back instead? Why dive in when we could just dip our toes? What if we were to reject all gear altogether and let someone else handle the combat for us? What if I beat Borderlands 4 gearless, and I wasn't even the one to do it? This is Borderlands 4, with only summons. To cover my bases real quick, this means my first run will be via Vex. On hard, of course, and in one sitting. Is in one play session. After being captured by the Order, I was to get implanted with a device that would allow them to control me. Very literally. I was escorted by a Dax warrior to be monologued to while contemplating my escape, which came in the form of a gun we'd promptly never use. Because we will not be using weapons. We will not be using shields, no grenades, no class mods, enhancements, rep kits, or what have you. We won't be using melee, slide damage, or so on. If there's damage to be done, it's coming from the summons I won't be getting for a full level from now. There are notable exceptions throughout, very specific things that must be destroyed for the game to continue, things that need to be hit with melee. In terms of combat though, rules are rules. As an added bit of fun, I decided that I wasn't allowed to throw things at any point. You have to use certain things, but I'm using them on my terms. This game does have some additional necessary evils to it, one being a grappling hook, which, don't get me wrong, really cool, but also, how dare you, Gearbox? Now, this wasn't exactly a good way to progress, though. Something about not having any form of damage beyond a rather unreliable individual who is physically incapable of giving me experience is pretty bad for the forward march. So what's to be done? Simple. Boxes. We spent hours, and I mean hours, 2 of them, to be more precise, just reloading the map and opening boxes. Against all odds, Borderlands 4 brought back challenges from 1. You can complete them for a number of rewards, but most importantly, experience. 2 hours of opening boxes, picking up gear that we then threw on the ground, and just hoping a whole lot was enough. I'm gonna have to do this a lot in my future, aren't I? But with that done, so slowly, painfully done, we got access to Dead Ringer. I can generate up to 3 charges that will let me spend each one to get up to 3 summons in play. I get 1 every 35 seconds, and they stay until they die. This is expedited by the fact that their health continually deteriorates at a growing rate until there just isn't a means of keeping them alive. You can choose between a ranged combatant that's going to always kind of have poor sustainability, or a melee friendo that's going to hit like a feather sitting 30 meters away from you. It might get you, eventually, but by God do Reapers get hard to kill. They also do a pretty good amount of damage later. Still not able to compete with our firing squad of glass cannons. It really didn't take long to take out the first boss. Our numbers won't be staying this silly, but dang did this feel like a good start. Gonna need to hang on to those feelings of adoration for my companions because this was quite the roller coaster. Also, the person who freed us got involved in some mind control shenanigans. Sure, it would be a shame if he got a knife in his chest before getting out of here. I'd show you, but YouTube doesn't like it when I show things, and I have bills to pay. If you take issue with that, then I'd suggest you take it up with the cost of living, medical expenses, my car. True story, very recently, the engine just stopped working. Repair place wanted 1.5 times the price of the car to fix just the one thing. There were a lot of other parts of it that just weren't working already. Insurance wouldn't cover it because there was no impact of any kind. It just died. And that wasn't the worst death in my life recently. Have I mentioned that this game came out at a really awkward and depressing time for me? Anyway, Claptrap is here. Fitting that I run into minions, huh? Anyway, after getting recruited to the Crimson Resistance, a totally unique name related to nothing else, nods head seemingly convinced. Wait, I wasn't supposed to read that part. Anyway, I often throw out my summons kind of willy-nilly. After all, why shouldn't I place them next to enemies so they can get me experience while I just exist in the world? Mandatory combat immediately after I spent most of my charges, you say? Now, why would you ever suggest such a thing would be possible? Not possible, but happened basically constantly, you say? Well, you're not wrong, but still rude. On my left is a climbing wall. You can skip most of these, like the grand majority. I appreciate that they made most of the new mechanics optional. It's a little thing, but it's nice to see in an RPG. Now, the ability to put my summons more or less wherever I'd like, with notable exceptions such as places that are really, really far away, I had the ability to sort of just sit and hurt things while outside of their reach. Frankly, I love how much tactical choice and general versatility they gave Vex with this one skill. It very much feels like the ideal version of the Borderlands 3 system of multiple action skills. I'm currently playing with what might as well be 2, and I could theoretically have a 3rd at a high enough level, all without having to go into a menu. Now, if only they didn't blunder grenade swapping, we'd be in business. We have enough buttons, it wouldn't be that hard to implement, even on controller. Staying alive, though, can still be difficult if, like me, you're bad at decision-making. Just a bit more thought or skill, and you got a hell of a character here. Even for me, though, pretty solid. My one incomplete skill tree review, she's a lot of fun. Now, possibly contentious, I will be using Glide. In so many words, the game was built for it. Believe it or not, I do these with the intention of having fun, and bending over backwards to try to do it without this feature just sounded not that. Personally, best movement in the series so far. It's like if we took what TPS wanted to be, combined it with what Borderlands 3 wanted to be, and then made the performance absolutely awful. I fully expect that to get patched out slowly over time, so I'm feeling pretty good about it for the foreseeable future. And I'm not going to cover every grapple point for the sake of brevity, but again, you can skip most of them if you just look around for a moment. It's not even hard. There are, I'm fairly sure, exceptions, but not here. There is a mandatory melee, though. Comes with a free frame drop, too. Neat. We're here to broadcast a message of resistance to the whole planet. One that theoretically should have been shut down way before this became an issue, but we ignore things for the plot to not become us rapidly becoming paste on the nearest wall. And the farthest wall. And everyone in between. No, instead the plot had a lot of me running across the map. Fast travel points being side objectives was certainly a choice, with some of the main objectives being literally thousands of meters away and my aversion to vehicles during these runs. It's a really good thing that the environments are varied, gorgeous, and shockingly fun to traverse. At least in terms of what I'm used to with these. That being said, you know what would make navigation even better? A mini-map, Gearbox. Why did you think the compass plus radar was alright? The Echo 4 doesn't make the game more immersive, it makes it more cumbersome. After killing a lot of dudes, I was threatened by a big golden man, and this is an incredibly me-specific gripe, but don't like gold. It's an ugly color. It's like if yellow gained a personality and it thought it was better than you. I don't like how prominent it is in this game. And now I'm confident someone somewhere has the same feeling I do towards the game control. And then, something I really wasn't prepared for. A pretty dang good character. Like, can we talk about the writing in this game? There is a clear tone shift between titles, and I am here for it. Thank you, Gearbox. He's light and peppy here, and a lot of the time he's on screen, except when it counts. When he needs to not be, which is absolutely what I've been asking for. Vex does feel a bit too quippy during dire moments, but it's better, at least, and now I do have a car. Could use it. Instead, it's leg day. All day. This run took more than a day. I will reiterate, it was one sitting. We fought our way through an order compound. If I stopped to explain every one of these sections, we'd be here a really long while. I don't have a perfect read on what combat is and isn't optional, but there are a ton of objectives that are just kill everything. And I know that won't be an issue for everyone, but when it's one room, then the next, and the next, and the next, sometimes even the same room, personally, I like some more variety. Like the Badlands of Borderlands 2, you have a lot of things you can fight through there. The run up to Flint, you can, and you even have to fight bits. But the ability to opt out goes really hard. Sometimes the palate cleanser goes a really long way. Do I want cold and empty? Of course not. But if my footwork is solid, then please let me use it if and when I'm willing to take the hit to my XP. Not asking for less combat, asking for more options. Stuff kind of like this here. Ladders? Who needs them? More possible paths often just means more fun. I don't need it failing on me, making me turn some more valves. Standing here, I realize you were just like me, trying to not get copyright struck. But who's to judge? The right from wrong. When our summons are down, I think we'll both agree. So there was another floaty boy boss. Honestly, kind of forgot about said fight. Like, entirely. You can see the damage I'm doing. Not sustainable, meaning we'd spend a while in this arena, but the game's absolutely easing us in. And ease it is. Easy, even. While survivability is still an issue and will only get worse, with one of our augments we can get a pretty hefty duration full of health regen. Stacking up to thrice via summoning Reapers. Specters give crit chance, which is nice, but health recovery though. It's pretty not hard to get caught out with no health and no charges, but the current combat is simple enough that circling the arena is pretty effective. Trust me, we're getting into more difficult content, but this ain't it, Chief. Especially when I figured out I could just hide over here without being under threat. And 2 Specters with a Reaper for sustainability goes really hard. With that, I'd have the device in his neck. It's like stealing someone's phone, brain, and spinal cord, all in one object. That's just efficient. Of course, that ain't gonna do us much good without a means of scanning. Another minor gripe, this game follows threes to a T. If there's an objective that isn't killing everything, it's probably in increments of 3, and sometimes it will be both. It's the kind of thing you probably wouldn't think would bug you until you try 100%ing Darksiders 2. Is that really specific? Yeah. But have you? With no choice ahead of me, I Hulk smashed and Hulk knifed a thing. Just go with it. It's the objective to destroy the thing. We're on the hunt for a Tannis type. Gonna stand in as our science person. Cold and calculated, turned trying to atone and be compassionate sort. We did get into a kind of shootout with her security along the way. Honestly, weirdly a cool set piece. It's so simple, so relatively tame, and yet there's a lot of environmental storytelling relative to the rest of the series. These things are everywhere, and they come out like you'd expect a cautious genius to have them. Everywhere and with great intensity. I'd have to imagine you could blow through this with gear or a real build, but having to slow down to appreciate it, I really like this. There is so much to love about this game. She is also a lot more hands-on than Tannis. Shame she's just as kidnappable. This map is so big. Like, for anyone who likes side content, I'm pretty sure you're in business. Me? I am trudging. And this was more or less where my survivability up and gave up. Could I play better? Obviously, but the days of just minding my own business in the fray were as dead and gone as I was. I was gonna have to play carefully. Gross. Did get back to her though, after a lot of deaths. It's funny in a sense that I'm supposed to be escorting her. It'd be closer to say that I'm just the transport around these parts. I do appreciate having a real gun wielder around though. Gonna be an even bigger help in the future. Also, I know basically nobody else is going to care, but these maps are lousy with some phenomenal little hiding places. Once again, gonna be really useful. After fighting our way to and across the rooftop to teleport her away, she got a convenient excuse to not engage in the boss fight when the teleporter also broke. Now me, I hate a flying enemy. I hate a flying boss. I have some concerns regarding things down the line, but we're not talking about that right now. It'd be more accurate to say I'm doing all the talking. Frankly, this is a really one-sided conversation at the moment. It's okay. I get it. Don't worry, I don't want you to feel like you need to talk about the weather or something awkward, so how about we just talk about the boss instead? Its ability to damage me undercover? Bad. My ability to damage it? Worse. My summon's ability to do so? Solid. Unlike them, I think they're spectral or something. Not sure what gives that idea exactly. Something about their name? I suspect their Reaper ain't gonna be stopped by a physical object anytime soon. I'm not honestly sure if I just got lucky here, if the fight is that simple. If nothing else, it beats the hell out of the jet in TPS. Let me tell you, I had flashbacks, and finding out it was easy was a genuine relief. You know, you were so much easier to get to the third time. I had a really awkward call with the growing team and made my way back to Saul's production facility. We're looking for a secret weapon while using our not-so-secret one. Previously, I was running a sort of quality build. Health on my summons is nice, but so is damage. As such, I was pretty focused on specters, but their sustainability leaves a lot to be desired. I've since respec to focus on Reapers, and that's not changing back. Were I to be using weapons, probably wouldn't be the case, but there are so many mandatory things to break in this game. Honestly, don't know that I'm even going to mention them all specifically, because hot dang. I will mention this one for sure, though, because this isn't just any mandatory thing I gotta hit, it's invulnerable, and it's indicative of what we have coming soon. We spent some time clearing out a lab that was full of mysteriously non-scientists. After killing a lot of people, we were able to pick up a small device containing a locust. It's really unstable and doesn't like being lifted. It either makes things basically indestructible or destroys it, especially things hardened with it. Like, oh, I don't know, exactly what you'd expect. Notice how I didn't need to throw it though. Just take this and have a lovely day. My summons will show you to the nearest headstone if you'd like. I'd really rather stay as uninvolved in the process as possible, and oh no, it's not like I really need to be. This is what we call a tutorial boss. Not meant to teach us how to start the game, but how to continue it when a real boss shows up. Because in the grand scheme of things, this boy is incredibly tanky, is capable of pushing away the bombs, and not a ton else. It can be avoided by sort of just running around the arena, distracted by Reapers, when I also want to heal. It does mean a lack of progress, wasting them on invulnerable durations, but stalling is better than going in reverse. The truth of this becomes a lot more questionable when it comes to something like airplanes, but I digress. For storming their facility, they decided to retaliate in a way that they probably should have from the get-go. Setting off to bomb the group that's supporting my efforts here. Not sure why they waited, but our compatriots are gonna have to. We started over 3,000 meters out, I ain't using a car, and the fast travel is down. I really hope they weren't in a rush for help. So many people died due to my lack of expediency. To stop the falling, though, I'd have to rise to the occasion. Unbreakable, insatiable, up the tractor beam, I'd have to embrace the way of the stand vac. It sucks more than anything. And frankly, you'd be amazed how easy it is to break a giant war machine. A lot of Borderlands 4 feels like Destiny to me. This is Halo if I've ever seen it. Combat evolved plus scarabs, anyone? There was a noticeable shift here, though. People died. Rush, a lighter sort of guy, ain't feeling light. Not peppy. He's still himself, but he's angry. He's hurt. And like, yes? Thank you? Gearbox, that is how people do. They feel emotions. They act irrationally. But they don't just abandon who they are, and you got it right this time. He's taking a serious situation seriously. I love this guy. The bar is so low, but you cleared it. Following that, not gonna lie, this is sick. Escorting a payload across a war zone is by design an escort mission, and by just not giving it a health bar, sure. It takes some stress off, but I get the cool spectacle of fighting side by side with like-minded individuals against an authoritarian monster. While the performance of 4 was garbage during this run, fingers crossed improvements are in the future, I do adore that with the progression of games we get more interesting on-screen spectacle. More moving parts, as it were. Anyone remember the sieges in Skyrim? Large-scale battles over the fate of entire settlements involving, like, 5 guys. Such epic warfare between all of the soldiers that I guess bothered to show up that day. Woo. It's not without its flaws. Like, here I am on my own. Or, I guess, as on my own as I can ever be during this run. Is it a genuine problem? Nah. Is it rude? Yeah. We did get some really genuinely hard enemies to kill, though, along the way. Rush could have stepped away a minute to at least help me deal with the enemy that was very capable of regenerating health. Personally, I feel like these were a really bad way to artificially increase enemy variety. It doesn't make them more interesting, it makes them more bothersome. Like, when you're making a powerful move that you get saved from at the last moment, and the protagonist gets left behind to suffer those consequences. The frequency at which I get killed by non-hostile NPCs is shockingly high. With fast travel being canon, but ships being more common, it was time to sabotage the person of the hour. Like I did with my own transit, thinking the button was to open a door. It was in fact an elevator. One that has flared connecting pieces for the shaft that moves it upward, which has really weird implications. Does it seriously just lift and connect at the bottom? Because a mechanism that interfaces with the sides for stability would have to be really needlessly complicated, rather than something like a solid or recessed construction. Map designers, you mostly did a really good job, but I think this is an engineering issue. But after. So, I can't promise you won't one day be a bane to end all banes, but today you are anything but. So he has an attack that brings damage raining down. Mine. You can dodge it pretty easily, and trust me, I got the practice in to do it. Grab the green, drop it at his feet, no grappling hook required, no throwing required, just gotta do it all the time because he likes to get his total invulnerability back. His hitboxes are also precise enough that specters just can't hit him at certain angles. Still arguably worth using, but fittingly, that's only scratching the surface. Phase 1 was more or less just trying to stay alive, trying to deal with his minions. When he pulls them into the arena, he can then sap the life out of them to recover his invulnerability, basically right after you remove it. He has various attacks to be aware of, some being arena-wide, but most getting more complicated with each phase. Phase transitions give you some lightning area dodging with colors that look similar enough that I don't love it, but then when it's over, you're back in business. Dodging laser attacks, shield charges that give follow-ups, you have to wait 2 volleys to get a green canister to remove his damage immunity. You get the arena cracking open into areas of relative safety with death in between. Hope you don't need to cross over. He grabs 2 people instead of 1 to recover his armor. Predictably, phase 3 ramps things up more. 2s become 3s, his windows get tighter, his moves get more. Just more. His spin around the arena attack, it gets a follow-up. Everything gets a follow-up. Every phase before this is just a lesson in how to handle what comes next. The transition into 3 gives you so little time to respond, except in that it gave me none on 1 attempt. Nothing like dying in the safe zone. It's a new release of a modern game. I expect bugs, but it's a fight that expects a lot of you. I was spawning Reapers just to stay alive pretty often. keep them off of me, or at least give regen. They can at least more reliably hit him, granted slowly. It was genuinely, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but it was genuinely a really good boss fight in Borderlands. I don't know how to handle this emotionally. Like, sure, it was harder to drop bombs at his feet, but it was doable. Some speed on downing the enemies he called in certainly favors range, but not entirely. My ranged units placed next to them before he could start absorbing them meant a good chance of keeping them hittable. I'm not convinced that would be a major issue for a melee character. Maybe it's my lack of imagination, but I think it plays nicely into pretty much any build. Nearly any playstyle. I've fought bosses that are hard if you suck with guns. Ones that are hard if you suck with melee. Things that more or less just shut down builds and skill sets. This is far from comfy with my survivability and damage output, but in a really fun and engaging way. I can't believe they did it, but I dare say they made a boss in Borderlands, and one with invulnerability no less, genuinely solid. He is dead though. It was an interesting call breaking up the story into side stories. It helps to feel like we're going through the struggles of different factions to unite them with a common goal in a way that TPS made us think we were going to in 3. And given hints that we get later, I guess we should expect for Borderlands 5? I don't know. More bandit killing was afoot. I suppose that'll never really change. All in service of some of the most Borderlands 3 writing we're getting. Quint, I want the record to show that I don't like you. Being light and quippy in the wake of a nightmare doesn't make you quirky, it makes you dangerously unserious and frankly predictable. We tried blowing up an enemy catapult, turns out our explosives were kaput. Gotta say, das ist nicht gut, aber ich habe einen Sinn und hat nur den. So, cool. We had to clear out a lot of enemies to avoid giving a pet indigestion. At some point combat got really slow. That's not gonna change, but it's certainly not fast. Possibly due to this game having a much higher enemy density. For my purposes, man, this sucks. For a casual run, hell yeah. You love to see it. A quick placement of a toy atop the thing we needed destroyed. Not hard to get up here without grappling, but that's all it takes to summon the noodle of the hour. This was one of those do it 3 times over things. Luckily, the very last time didn't require that I kill things, but like, that was a mercy. It was dragging. Then straight back to killing to get into not Concordia, more specifically the River Queen killing the Calamari. Zane's threats kind of ring hollow in the sense that, like, we were always going to kill her, so killing her for a different specific transgression is certainly a choice of a threat. Finally getting inside though, there were designs, or a specific design that I'm not confident I can show you. Again, YouTube doesn't like certain content, and you'll find starvation is a very powerful motivator. This place had so many things to smack. So many. Like, this is not how bridge felling is meant to be done. Oh my god, pangolins! They do exist in universe. Huh. Right next to the most rectangular fluid this side of the map. Now, this is more or less where things kind of just became a cover shooter of sorts. I don't know what the math looks like on being underleveled, but I know the level difference between myself and the enemies is great enough that this game won't even tell me what the numbers actually are. I'm gonna continue to be underleveled through most of the game. It is weird though, it seems like areas past loading screens will be leveled down to me, but the open world will not, usually. So more intense story sections are often a bit easier, at least to a degree. I ain't gonna pretend I fully grasp why it's built the way that it is, or even how it do, or like, over here, where it's manageable. It flip-flops. Just go with it. Luckily, at the end of the day, it's Borderlands. The AI is, questionable. They can't seem to acknowledge I exist past this mark. Means I can throw out summons without even needing cover. Neat find, though not sure what it'll look like for future use. Finding the old man still kicking around, Zane was on a warpath, and sure, enemies are dying in spite of the level difference, but so too was my frame rate. Otherwise, it was standard stuff. It was pretty noticeable just how often we have companions, though, and how they all conveniently stop being able to help just as the boss gets involved. It's a little distracting once you notice it. I will say, though, mini-bosses, pretty forgettable for the most part. I don't recall any major flints or what have you. Nothing earth-shattering, at least. Enemy variety in general felt pretty bad. Everyone more or less looks the same as other things, more or less functions that way. By streamlining everything, smoothing it out, they really lost some of its edges, some of its character. I really do like this game, but I miss some of the old jank and personality that came with 2. Hell, some that came with 1. I can't stress enough though, I genuinely like this game, but if I had to describe portions of a lot of modern games with a word, it'd be soulless. Maybe corporate. You certainly don't love to see it, but you take the bad with the good. We found the least aggressive boss I've seen in a hot minute, fully capable of being beaten by sort of just waiting around for cooldowns and throwing them at the big fella. No need for tricks or fancy whatnot to stay safe, just stay away from the really slow moving lug. There was some stuff I was supposed to break to save someone's life on a timer, but optional objectives and all, so I ain't gonna focus on his suffering, but we lost a little Borderlands 3 today. Because I insisted on using melee for the mandatory breaking of things, I had to get really creative with the movement. After he goes, these things have to go regardless, so the weird geometry was a godsend. Even had to worry about order of operations, but it was super doable with just my knife. My summoned knife? Somehow I really don't think I'm supposed to be able to get up to these places, but please, don't fix this. Zane required me to summon a vehicle for the first time the whole game. It was strange. I needed to actually check my keyboard layout to even find out what button it was on. We then had to ride an enemy vehicle. Having it more interactive made it a lot more fun than a certain Carnivora. Vertically, the game is genuinely fantastic, and much like Dishonored, it makes for a powerful tool. Shame about the weird hitboxes. I don't think I was aiming at a wildly different spot than the reticle was pointed at. Regardless, though, bringing down the crew here was comfy. Oh god, not the valves! With a major part stolen off of it, though, I was able to use a vehicle for the second and final time of the run to make a jump. Neat stuff, I suppose. Kind of feels weird that it was specifically so late into the game, but it was more or less bound to happen. Now at a higher level, we got a new augment. That augment removed my health recovery on Reaper summon, but every handful of swings, my Reapers would instead spin, and when they spin, every hit gives them health back. A lot of it. In so many words, with it, their damage has skyrocketed and their longevity is finally at least vaguely high enough that they can stay up almost constantly. Really helps if they're getting kills for faster cooldown. That all being said, with basically no investment, my Spectres still do more damage. Guns are really strong. Now, do me a favor and get a good look at this. If you're otherwise preoccupied and just listening in, or you have issues seeing, I get it, my eyesight's awful and I'm incredibly distractible. Anyway, this is a mini-boss. They're doing basically nothing to stop or even slow their march toward death from a triple Reaper threat. I might as well not even be here at the moment. Easy as. And I don't say this lightly, but the internal map of this place is sick. These designs are so friggin' cool. No time to love that though. We've gotta concentrate on a boss that exists and nobody can take that from her. She, does stuff, fights us. Yeah, this encounter was about as hard as the last mini-boss. Following up Saul was a really hard hit to swing, but they didn't even pick up the bat. The writing felt far less serious, the stakes were just lower, I cared a lot less about this branch of the story, and overall it's inoffensive, it's over quickly enough. Zane's writing was a highlight, even if it falls into a similar camp. He is funny, the voice work was good, but overall it was fine. Except for the fact that you can do this after the next major branch. It's criminal that you can do these in the reverse order. Now, this game really asked, what if Typhon de Leon was actually pretty cool? This guy was exiled by the religious ordery kind of deal. Tradition, precaution, and also not building him up to be an incredible thing that he just isn't. Just a cool and kind of infamous dude. Helping him was basically just sitting here. A lot of people murdering. Until this boss. You know, it's early to say, but I dare say I hate this fight. Can hit you through walls, can harass you with both slow-moving and fast-moving mobs to bully you for being on the floor or being off of it. It has an aggression that no other boss did. I think you can shoot its summons, but some of them move so quickly and erratically that I'm genuinely not sure how you're supposed to deal with them without having a pretty quick aim. You're being attacked from every angle, so a lot of deaths in here, I genuinely couldn't even tell where I was being hit from. It's the kind of fight that I can almost guarantee the average player will get to and get by just fine. But if your damage is bad, if your aim is particularly bad, if I don't know, you chose to primarily use melee in an RPG featuring multiple melee characters, you're probably going to be worse for wear. Someone, somewhere, is playing a video game for the first time, and it's this one. And sure, it doesn't have a lot of health. I'm sure for most people this is fine, but objectively speaking, this feels horribly designed. Receiving a passing grade doesn't make a bad paper any better, it just means the standards aren't high enough. Gotta love a flying Genevieve. My summons couldn't even reliably target basically anything here, either aiming at walls, floors, or standing stationary. Maybe there's a strat I just didn't find. After all, I could have given it more time, but it was miserable during what I gave it. Staying moving certainly wasn't it. Getting back up into the spawn area made things at least a bit more comfortable in theory. Specters weren't great for damage still, and the ground summons the Cratch brings are able to leave the arena. Can't say I love a taste of my own medicine, but I found not one, but 2 places to cheese this thing. I don't even remotely feel bad about this. Its sonic attacks can still sometimes hit you through walls, but sitting in here is relatively safe. Bugs struggle to get in, Specters can hit the thing even if the Reapers are inconsistent. Incredibly easy fight if you go to its level and choose to play things just as fairly, which is to say not. Rest in piss, you weird bug thing. We went back presenting a talking relic and trying to undo his exile. We then fought alongside Amara, a woman who's really obsessed with her image in combat, especially for someone hunkering down with a gun as far from enemies as possible. I may do similar in some of my runs, but I'm not afraid to admit that I'm both lazy and a coward. What's your excuse? Basically, the big bad here is gathering iridium for experiments, luckily no slag involved, but busting up their power sources is once again melee viable. Again, it's wild what you can do in this game. Hey devs. I have reason to believe you're not listening, but thank you. This freedom is everything I would want and more in this movement system. Kill speeds, though, yeah, sure, we're fighting some sort of weird creature in an isolated site, but we're moving slow. That red exclamation point haunts me so. Like the vile prototype crystals kind of do. They started so strong, but their bosses couldn't hold up after. I can't tell you what their hitboxes do or don't ask in terms of becoming vulnerable, but they are a basic enemy variant sort of thing. Very anointed. So we're here to find Lilith. We tried pulling her out of the alternate dimension that apparently fuels all Siren abilities, which is certainly a choice that I still haven't digested, but we instead got a Destiny 2 character. For the crime of defying totalitarian rule, our own got murder-urdled, and now we're ratchet and clanking through the portals in search of the guy who done did it. This really isn't that dissimilar from when I played that, huh? Hey, I play games that aren't Borderlands sometimes, if you're interested. If not, fair enough. We needed to blow up barriers using handheld bombs. I decided to take that a bit more literally to get them where I wanted them to blow things up. Bad for my health, great for my progress. We did, unfortunately though, have to grab one via my hook. It being that or throw it. I haven't been able to perfectly avoid said hook. Mostly, but not perfectly, and my throw record remained squeaky clean. Half victories. And oh no, a mini-boss fight. Such spook. Much wow. Hard fight. As in, hard to sit through. Can these guys die already? I've got places to be. Amara. Threatening people with death for relatively minor crimes in the grand scheme of things. Like, we were literally going to kill him for probably war crimes. Are you going to double kill him? Triple kill him? Overkill him? Killtacular? Killtrocity? Kilimanjaro? Killtastrophe? Killpocalypse? Are you gonna killionaire him? Well, Amara, are you gonna do that? If not, the hell is this empty threat rubbish you're spouting? Can we normalize not using death as a threat when it was the original goal? You prevented me from killing you. I'll kill you for that. Jesus Christ. Real mature, Amara. I refuse to even touch the floor. I see how it is. You get called out for it and you choose to reinforce that you're unreasonable. She then lets things get really out of hand, and again, YouTube probably wouldn't like me showing you why that's really funny, so we're gonna have to wing it. Really put in some elbow grease. Don't worry, you can take her hand while you're trying to put your finger on it. Though, really, they took her arm just so she couldn't contribute to any of the fight. Kind of petty move there. Also, this is via Lictor. He more or less managed more siren-based discovery than anyone else has up until this point. Sorry, Tannis, this dude's just figured out how to more or less make sirens. He's not quite done, but close enough to transcend mortality, and he's using his powers mostly just to throw hands. Honestly, fair enough. His attacks mostly comprise of projectiles, minions, and stage hazards. They come at different speeds, most of which are pretty easy to avoid in theory. The hitboxes are a little unclear, literally, just a touch, and the fast ones mess a lot with my head. They move forward from where they're projected, but apparently I can't even dodge straight, so... Anyway. He becomes a lot more active in Phase 2, like, a lot more active. Reapers stop being nearly as good because they just waste a lot of time trying to catch up to him. If you're good enough with the movement, I guess you can pull off some pretty sick dodges, but don't ask me to manage that again. I'm proud but confused. Otherwise, I, in spite of my self-interest, ended up using Reapers. I'd theoretically advise against them, but the survivability they provided was instrumental. Getting better at avoiding the boss in spite of how much it messes with the void that is my brain, it allowed me to build up charges to use in bursts. Gotta say, they stepped up the bullet hell bosses pretty well. I dare say they're genuinely fun this time. Double Spectre into Reaper for that maximized crit chance, but also health recovery is a hell of a combo. One I didn't give nearly enough respect. Often was the case that I tried again and again to make other things work, but I just kept coming back to it. It's so solid. Wait a minute. Old man guy from the tutorial, you were Destiny 2 all along? And you've been tortured and made into a pseudo-siren as a sick experiment? Jinkies. I don't think we're friends anymore. We worked alongside Zane and Amara to search for Lilith. Clearly the two most likely Vault Hunters to have an interest in finding their dear friend. While I'm really glad they didn't try to bring everyone back and bloating the cast's coughing noise, my hero, coughing noise, it is strange who got brought forward and who was left behind. Like, apparently Sanctuary 3 crashed, and it's where Amara's been living. The story then takes a second to build her back up while I accomplish things that I don't even sort of require her assistance for. I'm not sure how deliberate this is, but it's a little funny in a sense. Not funny was the space elevator trip up toward where Elpis was debatable. It was full of bloodshed and friendship. There was, of course, trouble in paradise in the form of Bungie. I mean, Destiny. What's your name again? I don't know. Either way, I want the record to show threefold. The writers still clearly don't know how to use a person that can teleport, the characters still don't understand the value of the double tap, and I can't be held accountable for cutscene events. Vex using the future version of the dentist's sticky hand is an action all her own. I said I wasn't going to throw anything. I meant it, you explosives requiring bastard. Though the engineering implications of this make absolutely no sense to me. Elpis was a really fun revisit though. It was a breath of fresh air. Not that I was suffocating, but who doesn't love just a bit of open space, you know? Full disclosure, this part here specifically, this is not part of the script. This is just me commenting as I'm recording. None of those puns were intended. I'm leaving them, but, you know, after slipping across Elpis pretty effortlessly, seeing visuals that I kind of don't want to show off because, like, they're genuinely some of the coolest. Some of the most inspired in a game full of phenomenal art direction that I think you should experience for yourself if you can. We found Lilith, and also a repeat boss, which was bittersweet. The boss is, I think, the same. The lack of experiencing it the first time made it a bit harder to compare. It's not hard to get thrown into space, or just get two-tapped. As such, it was a return to the old Reaper for my own health strat. Means I couldn't also give them the healing that they so desperately want, but I'll take infinite Reapers that last for a short time rather than a few that stay indefinitely at the moment. The other side, of course, being that this boss is pretty aggressive and the arena is small, so having a floating punching bag for her to wail on while I try to just go unnoticed was a pretty big boon. After her fall, and also the fall of the platform we were on, we were able to crash into a city of order that has none. The fewer stops we make here, the healthier I remain. One of the first being the tower containing the sort of final boss. We'll have to come back to this, but first we have to address something that I genuinely really dislike. You'll notice my damage, or I guess more accurately, you won't notice my damage. Some enemies are basically just immune. I really hate the modifiers. One wrong one in the wrong place means I basically have to reset the area. An issue for most players? Highly doubt it. Annoying as hell? Absolutely. I can outmaneuver everyone here. The use of my tools and tactics can beat anything present by virtue of skill and determination. Except, of course, totally random happenstance outside of my control when my numbers just aren't high enough. My abilities as a player have nothing to do with my inability to proceed. DPS checks. they do the body bad. I spent a bit farming. Didn't work well. I ended up giving up boss farming in favor of bounty farming. Both work kind of slow, but you know what? I appreciate bounties as a thing. A reliable means of experience basically whenever you need it. Even boss farming is better for gear chasers. Don't know why it has to cost money. Seems like an unnecessary inconvenience, but what do I know? With a higher level, I can use 2 augments at once. I can also heal my summons, reset their health drain, and give them a temporary buff to DPS. The cooldown on this is slow, but my Reapers can stay basically forever as long as they're not getting burst down. Also, by virtue of better spawns, this room became little more than a footnote. Returning to the tower, the Timekeeper shot my Echo 4, giving him the ability to mind control me again now that nothing's blocking him. I then murdered some people while under his control and spared my own life because Vex was able to just somehow overcome it when her life was on the line. Screw everyone else, I guess. Terrible implications for the main cast. We got a reason to believe that there is more in our future, and TPS still hasn't had its full whatnot fulfilled. That aside, though, I gotta make what was quite possibly the best non-throw of the run. I said no throws, I meant it, and I am so happy about this. I got stuck in a gas chamber, which was rapidly killing me. Would have been fine if only I was a different YouTuber. Dying spawned me elsewhere, and the trek was once again afoot. Or feet. Either way. Inside the Timekeeper's not-so-immaculate gardens, I had to deal with... Well, you're seeing this. I've been told you should be able to damage them via elemental effects that I can't currently deal, so that's nice. Again, these modifiers. There's not even like a quick symbol guide that you can just glance at. You have to read through a small wall of text in the middle of combat to figure out all the things the thing do and don't do. Terrible design. An experienced player should be able to tell what the enemy does at a glance, and this is not that. With a reload of the map and an ascent up to the ugliest beehive I've ever seen, it was time to keep. We're moving on. Don't worry about it. After was Geometry Man, more specifically triangles. Geometrically, one of the strongest shapes known to man from specific angles. Not as literally well-rounded as a sphere, not as highly refined as a cube, but very powerful and very healthy. These 3 bars, they be lies. Dude's got 6 in total. During phase 1, Reaper to keep him off me is a really nice thing, but their speed leaves a lot to be desired. More time in a fight means it's easier to mess up. He's mostly a lot of spectacle. It took me a lot longer than it should have to realize that the borders of these pyramid attacks are the parts that actually do damage. Sure, they're faster than you, sure they track you, and sure they take most of your health, but that wouldn't be the worst designed attack I've seen in the series, so I sort of just assumed that was how it was until I figured out you can jump through them. So, that was nice to know. During his transformed state, there was this thing called anything to do with him that I wanted absolutely nothing of. The further we keep from each other, the happier I'm gonna be, and I know I'm gonna be the Vex that makes it right on through. Fact is, it's a hell of a spectacle, but it's a lot less aggressive than the Ripper Queen. Sure, it can 2-tap me, but seriously, what can't? It's about as dangerous as a regular enemy that attacks less often with more recognizable hit patterns. Granted, I did die to him a few times. This whole run has been going by like weight training, and when everything's terrifying, nothing is. It did add in a nice little portion where I kind of need to continue hopping along platforms I need to use my grappling hook on. If I don't, I'll die in pretty short order. It lasts for about a minute. I'm not confident I could survive it in even ideal conditions, and death means having to do the humanoid phase over again. Ask me how I know. So I leapt around waiting out the phase like a good little soldier. Otherwise, like, what, am I supposed to be afraid of this oncoming screensaver attack? I had some really solid sustainability, as did my Reapers. And unless he could burst me down, I was here to stay, and he was struggling with that just based on distance. Was I supposed to be afraid of the not-so-secret boss after the credits that got violently beaten by a group of Reapers? The grappling hook attack that you had to do to make him vulnerable again to phase transition him? The specters that proceeded to gun him down basically effortlessly? I fought basic mobs harder than this guy. Who was he again? John Halo or something? With him defeated, though, the game would come to a close, the Timekeeper beaten, me robbing him of his favorite triangle and destroying it because Vex hates band kids or something. Him having been revealed to be the keeper of a vault that seems to contain a window into time. Hence the name. A seemingly immortal Lilith that has seen countless versions of reality and is trying to steer us toward a less awful outcome. A lot of weird choices for a series that's apparently not over, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a lot more hopeful of what's to come. I had a shockingly large amount of fun. Very non-zero chance I pick this right back up for another go. For what it's worth, I hope that you've similarly enjoyed your time here. I'd like to thank my lovely channel members, as well as Twitch subscribers for your support. Don't forget to slow down between things, because, well, again, life has been hitting me really hard lately. I wouldn't advise people taking about 30 hours straight to just sit down and play a game, but, if you'd believe it, it was better for my mental health than a lot of things that have been going on. I will be fine. Right now, I am very overwhelmed, but if I stop, then I'll be stuck both not knowing what to do with myself and feeling like a failure and not producing something. I've been going slow enough as is. Life ain't, but I am, and it makes it really hard to catch up. Like, interacting with comments, I love reading what people have to say, and I at least try to read everything people write, but responding is daunting. Being an introvert more or less exclusively has its drawbacks, but you probably know how to use social media. And I hope that means I'll get to hear your thoughts now and on any future outings. I can't promise I'll confirm that I've seen it, but I promise it means a lot. Until then, remember to stay safe. Spread some kindness in the world. Thank you for making it feel less lonely, even if I can't really always repay that in kind. And I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.